Hi everyone, it's David Clausen from MathCEO, and this week we will be doing what's called modular arithmetic, but it's just, you can think about it of doing math and adding and subtracting just on your fingers. So the idea is that if you have two fingers, and then you add three, so if you have two fingers, and then your other two are down, and your thumb is down. If you add three, that gets you to five fingers. And then and then five is the same thing. Five, you can think of your fist is open, and if you add one more finger, you have to close your fist. And you can to close your fist, and then if you wanted to add one more, you add one. So if you do 2 plus 4 fingers, you get 1 finger because you take away the factor, you take away the 5. So you can think of that if you look at the workbook for this week, you have if you start with 2 fingers and you add 3, you go sort of around this circle to 0. And then if you add 3 again, you would come to 3. And then if you do 3 plus 3, that would be equivalent to going around the circle 3 times. So you would go 1, 2, 3, and you would end up back at 1. And then the next number would be 4. And then from 4, if you add 3, you'd get 7, and then you take away 5, so you get 2. So you can do this addition, you can do this multiplication, addition and multiplication. You can do subtraction this way too. Division is a little more complicated, and we won't get into it, but that just sort of gives you an idea of what we are going to do. And we're going to sort of, if you continue this pattern, 2 becomes 0, becomes 3, becomes 1, becomes 4, becomes 2, becomes 0, and you can see that the pattern is repeating. So you can do that with 0, 3. You can also do that with like 4. So if you do 4, the pattern looks something like this, because adding 4 is the same thing as 5 minus 1, so it's subtracting 1. And then you can do all sorts of other patterns as well. So for example, you can do one example you can do is that if you put the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, a pattern you can do is you can do sort of iteratives. You can iterate, you can repeat. So an example would be that you might, if it's an even number, you duplicate. And if it's an odd number, you add 3. So the 0 is an even number, so we duplicate it. 1's an odd number, so we add 3 and get to 4. 2 is an even, so we duplicate or multiply by 2, so we get 4. 3 is odd, so when we add 3 to it, we get 6, which is the same thing as 1. And then 4 is, if you duplicate it, you get 8, which is the same thing as 3. Okay, and then if we multiply 0 by 2, we get 0 again. 4 we can see comes to 3, right, just following this path down here. 4 again goes to 3, 1 goes to 4, and then 3 goes to 1. And then if we just repeat this pattern, 0 goes to 0, 3 we add 3 and get 1, 3 adds 3 and gets 1, 4 we duplicate and we get 3, 1 we get 4. And then if you continue, 1 we add 3, we get to 4. 0 is again 0, 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, which is 1, and 4 duplicate is 3. So you can see this pattern repeats, and we only have or we don't have 2 in this pattern. Have 2 in this pattern. And then maybe another pattern that you could do is if it's even, you duplicate you multiply by 2, and if it's odd, you add 2. And if you do that with 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 0 times 2 is 0. 1 times 2 is, 1 is even, so we add 2 and we get to 3. 2 is even, so we multiply by 2 and get to 4. 3 is odd, so we add 2 and we get 5, which is the same thing. 5 minus 5 is 0. Even, we multiply this by 2 and we get 8, which is 8, which if we take away 5, we get that this thing is 3. Okay, and then if we repeat that again, times 2 is 0. This is odd, so we add 2, we get 0. This is even, so we multiply by 2, we get 3. 0 times 2 is 0. And then 8 plus 2 is 0. And if we repeat that, we see 0 is always going to 0. And then if we do 3, we add 2, and now we have 0. And then this would just continue for 0. So we eventually send everything to 0 with this pattern, versus this pattern has some sort of weird thing. So you'll be doing these sorts of activities with kids, both the sort of basic sort of taking away 5s, and also these more sort of iterating activities.